The growth-minded person says, come hell or high water, I'm going here. This is happening. Firm's going to run itself. I'm going to have an abundance of people calling me every single day. And I know marketing's required for that. I'm going to spend whatever it takes to get to that next level. And most people don't have that wired in them.
I wonder how many law firm owners want to be the type of law firm owner that wants to grow and be entrepreneurial, but just are kind of almost lying to themselves maybe.
Yeah.
And would be better off just partnering with another firm and being a managing partner there or something, and being taking that job there. Society makes it so great and grandiose to be business owners, but the reality is most people are probably not meant to be business owners, and so those ones are usually the ones that just stay stagnant.
We have the one and only Brandon Bowers with us today, selling suits. It's his middle name. Did you know that? Brandon Bowers, name. Suit salesman.
We keep saying we're going to relaunch a new suit line called Law Suits.
Oh, that's freaking brilliant. Which leads to our topic today, which is marketing and scaling and why these things go hand in hand. When we've looked at 1,000,001 different problems that law firms have when it comes to scaling, and I think I've put my little finger on the one thing that is the biggest problem. And my belief is that it's underspend. Most attorneys aren't spending enough money on their marketing. Bottom line.
Yeah.
And I know for us in our marketing department, the number one problem that we encounter is we want to spend more, and it's hard to spend our entire marketing budget. So like a legitimate problem of ours is hitting our monthly marketing budget because our monthly marketing budget is so high.
Yeah.
And that's led to a belief for me where underspend is more costly than overspend. So I want to hear your thought on that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that go into it. I do believe for a lot of the clients we have, a lot of law firm owners, it's fear-based, right? Mm-hmm. People they haven't had good experiences in the past with marketing. Things didn't work. They spent money and lost money. Unfortunately, that is part of the game, right? There's definitely ads we've done for ourselves that we spent money on that didn't work. Different marketing things that just didn't hit, but it's part of the learning. And then once you find the magic formula of what's working for you, you've got to go all in. And to your point, I mean, when we underspend, we had worse results, but we're confident in our ads. We're confident in our sales ability. A lot of law firms don't have good intake. We see that all the time. They don't have a process. They don't have the team to be able to close the leads. So if you have these other fears around, am I, going to capitalize on that spend? Then yeah, I could see where it does become concerning. But when we ran math on our numbers, our cost of acquisition of a client actually skyrocketed if we did not spend enough, because we could not then have enough leads that we could close to actually hit our numbers. And so it was kind of eye-opening when we did that math.
Like Andy and I always have this saying, which is, if your law firm's doing $1 million a year and you can do $10 million a year, are you willing to pay life a $9 million per year ignorance tax
right.
for not getting to $10 million a year, right? And one of those ignorance taxes is your fear-based beliefs around what a lot of money is, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting where if we were to interview, I don't know, 10, 20 big, multi 8-figure, 9-figure law firms and ask them about what are your feelings around spending $30,000 a month on marketing, right? And we once were interviewing Daryl Isaacs at one of our in-person events, the Kentucky Hammer, and he goes, oh, I wouldn't. We were like, what do you mean? He says, I would never only spend $30,000 a month.
I remember that
one. I would never do that. Like he almost it's almost like his mind just rejected the question because like he couldn't relate to only spending $30,000 a month on marketing when he's spending like millions, right? And I actually have identical belief. Like, and it's really fascinating that if you're asked that same question to 99% of lawyers, they go, oh, "What? 30,000? Oh, there's no way I could do that," right? It's like it's really aggravating for me, frustrating that, I mean, why do people, where do people form these beliefs around conservative spending? I just don't get it. I mean, I'm trying to think in my life what caused me to become a spender. I'm the easiest close ever, dude. Like if a salesperson pitches me, like I'm gonna buy.
It's why when people reach out, I'm like, please let me take this call because I know otherwise you're gonna go spend something.
So,
well, I think, I hate to always bring up traits and whatnot, but I think a lot of lawyers tend to be detail oriented. So they say in the different culture index, predictive index, those are the brakes, right? So when you have high detail, that's a brake against your desire to be a visionary and push forward and not have fear. So, if that is the case, and we have a lot of, lawyers trying to now convert to being a business owner and a visionary, they have to be able to work on that and practice that and get better at kind of allowing the details to drop a little bit. Allowing to not focus so much on some of those details to the point where it becomes crippling. I get it though. It's a lot of money. It's risky. It's scary as a business owner. But if you look to all of our most successful clients, it's the ones who took that leap of faith and just, put that risk out there, embraced it and put the money down. And it's all proportionate to the growth. I mean, if you look at the clients that spend versus the ones that don't, there's a direct correlation to the growth rates.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm looking up right now.
And it's not just dollar amount, to be fair. It's the percentage to your revenue, right? So
all right, so I have an IBIS World report pulled up for law firms in the United States. Now, this includes corporate-facing, corporate law firms and stuff. There's 452,000 law firms in the United States. 452,000. The average annual growth of a law firm is 1.6% annually on this report. Now they update these reports.
I was saying, I think that's gotten worse.
And then here's the marketing spend. Average marketing spend. Well, 44.2% of legal is commercial law. So that's insurance side. The percent spent on marketing, all right, here it is, dude. It's crazy. Okay. The average costs, the average profit's 21.2%.
Okay.
That's pretty significant. You're not going to see that in manufacturing or
no,
other
it's a service base. Yeah. But I mean, we see plenty that are in the 30s.
Take a guess what the marketing is. Just take a guess.
12? As a percentage? 12%?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. It looks like 2.3%.
Whoa.
In this report. Now that's all. That includes the 43% of non-consumer facing.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to look up. All right, so
that's extremely low.
That's that. Now I'll look up.
But still, if that was 44%, then I mean, it's fair to say that maybe it's 5-6% for the other side.
Yeah, well,
if the average came down to 2.
I have personal injury right here. Ready? Personal injury annual growth is 1.4%. You can let Jade in. We're going to let our stage dog in. She's an artificial intelligence dog named Jade. Hi, Jade. Good girl. You're on a podcast. So now this is just personal injury. Average annual growth in PI is 1.4%. There's 54,000 personal injury law firms. And then we're going to go down the marketing spend. You think it's more? Less?
For PI, I got to imagine it's definitely more than the 2%. Right? Yeah. All
right. So maybe the number is, for the average personal injury law firm, 1.6%.
Wait, the average what?
1.6% on marketing.
It's lower?
Yeah, it's really weird. That doesn't make any sense.
How does that make any sense?
Wait, let me just make sure. Yeah, 1.6.
Wow.
Yeah, 1.6% on personal injury?
That seems insane.
That must be because the majority of personal injury law firms are referral based and don't do any marketing.
That's what I was thinking.
Practitioners.
That's all it is. Yeah, they have partnerships and referral based.
Let's go to the next. Let's
Wow.
go to family law.
That's crazy to me.
This is family law. There are 60,000 family law firms. This is all pretty much consumer facing. There's 60,000 family law. Annual growth is 0.5%.
Wow. So maybe they are all just that low in the 2% range.
Let me see what the marketing is on this for divorce law. Here it is. It looks to me that it is 1.7% on marketing. 1.7% and 21.6% profit. What? How do you survive? All right, let's see one more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'll wait till you're done.
This is immigration. This is the last one. I don't have criminal defense. For some reason, I don't have 10,000 immigration firms, 1.6% annual growth, and then let's see what they spent on marketing. What do you think? Any different?
I'm guessing it's around the same, maybe 2% for that one.
This one is 1.7.
I mean, so again, it's correlated to the growth rate, right?
It's freaking crazy, dude. It's really crazy. I don't understand how you survive in business without a lead generation system that creates abundance in the business. And it's just...
Well, it's why they're growing at 1%. I mean, that's where it's kind of that, cart and horse situation where people come to us and they want to grow, but if you're not willing to put the money in to make it grow, how do you expect... You can't expect it to just magically grow. There are only so many ways that you can grow a law firm.
All right, let me ask you this. Why do I aggressively spend on marketing? Why? Like you've been through... I think when you first joined, we were still
pretty aggressive, for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Why? What do you see in... Like, why do you believe I have that belief system?
Well, one, you're a bigger risk taker, like I mentioned. I think your trait set would say you're a bigger risk taker and you're a lot of gas pedal and you want to go. You're willing to take those risks. And I think you understand marketing, so it gives you more confidence in it maybe, because you understand the power of it. And then I think even from the time when I started, I've seen your confidence level grow in marketing just because we've honed it in. We've honed our own marketing. We know our numbers. That's another key element, right? We know very clearly all of our numbers surrounding CAC and number of leads we need and what close rate we need as a percentage to hit the numbers that we want to hit. So as we've also mastered our data and finances, coupled with a stronger sales team and processes, I think all that has just continued to build your level of confidence to where we've continued to spend more and more as a dollar and percentage.
Interesting. Yeah, I would say there's also like deep-seated stuff around my dad when he cut his spending when the recession hit in 2008. And that was really, I think, the 1-2 punch for our company. Yeah. When the economy dried up. Because what I did when COVID hit, that was when I marketed the most aggressively. I don't think you were even at our company when COVID hit.
Not yet. No.
Yeah. I was in... It's a crazy story, dude. It was... I mean, everyone remembers where they were when they got the... I mean, if you ask 100 people, like, where were you when the world shut down, most people remember. Because we remember things that make us feel a certain way. I was in the office, in my old office, in the building that just got demolished across the street, and the world got shut down on TV while we were in the office. We had a TV in our office. Everyone in the office was watching. Everyone went home when they did the mandated shutdown or whatever, and I stayed in the office. And only thing flashing before my mind was just, holy shit, this is a repeat of... It was the only time I felt the same emotion I felt as when my family went bankrupt in 2008. Now, I was younger at that time, so I didn't really know everything that was going on.
Right. But it felt like that could happen again.
That same feeling was there, where it was like panic, and I just remember going into the office. I'm sorry, I stayed in my office, everyone went home, and then I had my own personal office area where I did my old talk show with the doorknob.
Oh, right.
The door stopper
there.
thing,
Yeah.
right? And that was at the back end of my office. I sat in that chair, and I had only been making YouTube videos at that point in time. I never did a webinar, didn't even know what webinars were. And I sat there and I was like, what the hell can I do to not go under during this? Because that's like all that was going through my mind. So I sat there, and very quickly it dawned on me that like if everyone was going to be at home, the whole world's going to be like super scared. Everyone's going to be at home. I assumed that courts were going to be closed. And I was just like, I need to do something to help people through this period of time. And obviously, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, this can be a great like marketing opportunity, because
Sure.
if I can help a lot of people, then maybe we can also get some kind of growth out of this and turn this into a great year while helping people.
Yeah.
And then that's where a few days that kind of stirred around my mind. And I went to my buddy James Helms's house, Top Dog,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't even have a house at the time. We were living in the same apartment complex. Actually, we
the
moved
one that I went to, yeah.
the second
Actually,
apartment complex, the Presidential City apartment complex.
Oh, up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Parktown Place.
That's what
where
I was
we
thinking.
met.
Yeah.
Then we both moved to Presidential City in separate units.
Got it.
Right? And he had a unit in Presidential City. I walked in there. There was a book on his bookshelf, because he's an avid reader. There's a book on his bookshelf called One to Many
Yep.
by Jason Fladlin. And I said, hey, could I take this? And he was like, yeah. Read the book start to finish. I was like, oh my God, webinars, because that's what the book was all about. And I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a webinar. And then I did a webinar and promoted it. And because everyone was at home and Zoom was like the primary mode of communication in
Zoom
the world.
boomed that time.
It was insane. That I did a webinar, and then I think I got like a couple hundred lawyers on it. I was like, what if we just spend a little more and get a little bit more aggressive? And my fourth webinar ever, I had 3,777 lawyers register for. Fourth webinar ever in my life.
It's crazy.
Right? It was so insane. And it was a PPP webinar. It was on how to get a PPP loan for your business. Yeah, it was freaking insane. And then from that point, I had nothing to sell. I mean, I didn't know how to sell via webinar. I just was trying to help people, and it was cool.
Build awareness.
It was building my email list. And then that ended up becoming the talk show that ran for 3 years. That we just started doing it every week, right? And I never stopped for 3 years, every single week. Like even when I was on vacation with Emily, I still did the talk show. I never missed one. And it was freaking awesome. And actually, this podcast is really the continuation of that talk show. I took like an 18-month kind of hiatus from the talk show, but this is really version 2 of the talk show. And I think that was the turning point for me. That was the turning point where I realized not marketing is more expensive than marketing, because I marketed more through COVID than I had ever marketed in my life, and our business doubled, or maybe even, I think I was looking at one. It probably grew 200 to 250% that year through COVID. And it was actually the most profitable year. We would never reach the profits of that year.
Yeah.
Now looking back, we didn't reach those same profits until actually this year.
And it was the catalyst for everything we were about to do that following year when I joined, right? Because that was the foundation
coaching.
of it. Yeah, exactly.
Right? That talk
Which
show
really catapulted our
when
business.
I started looking like months after doing the talk show, I was like, why are people still like listening to this? And what people started telling me was, oh, you're talking about the stuff that we never learned in law school. I was like,
Right.
they didn't teach you like how to set goals, how to like run a business at all. They just like kind of, and it was just mind boggling to me because I went to business school. So I did learn about business theoretically.
Sure.
But what it turns out is like what you learn in law school, you almost learn no business other than your minimum requirement classes.
None. Yeah.
So then I was like, wait a second. This is more than a talk show. This is a business model. This talk show that I'm doing is really coaching. Like I'm kind of coaching people. And then that's where I went, well, how do I turn this value that people have been getting from this talk show? Because all I thought about was business. So it was easy to do business coaching because that was the only thing I was reading, the only thing I was thinking
tons
about.
Of books on it, yeah.
So it was literally, I was just spitting out what I was reading about and practicing. And people were like, oh, I've never heard that before.
Well, you also made it way more efficient for them to absorb the information. Because instead of having to go read 3 books in a weekend like you were, they could just get on an hour-long podcast and get all the key points.
It was a really exciting.
So it was really good for them.
It was a very exciting time because those early people who joined our coaching program, they got to see me and our whole company evolve from nothing.
There's some that are still here today, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, from 10 people, like. Go ahead. You were saying something.
It reminds me of, and I hope I quote this correctly, but I went to a marketing conference. I don't know if I ever told you about this, early in my career. And it was a company called High Rock Studios in like Hagerstown, Maryland. And they were kind of a newer age, marketing agency, particularly for our area, which was a little bit smaller of an area. And they started really getting into really cool website design and different things. And they had this marketing conference, and this guy got up and did a session, and he had everyone like raise their hands or something. And he said like, okay, this is like again, you have to fact check me on the dates here, but maybe it was like the 80s or something, and about how much companies were spending on marketing. And he gave an example of like the Fila, Adidas, Nike, that whole thing, right? And then when the market tanked and economy started turning, what happened? And so he had everyone raise their hands up, and he's like, okay, when I say now, I want you to drop your hands. And when he had everyone drop his hands, he had a guy in the back, staged to go, look at me, look at me, look at me. And he's like, that's what happens when an economy starts to go down. The people, when the economy's great, everyone's saying, look at me, spending money on marketing. But when things turn, the people that are willing to take the risk and spend the money on marketing are the ones who succeed. So it's kind of like what happened there in COVID, right? Everyone pulled back in marketing, you double, tripled down, and you reap the rewards of it. Same thing happened to Nike. I mean, Fila was like the big up-and-coming one at that time, Reebok, all these ones. And Nike, through the 90s, if you think about it, that was their period where they shined. They got the largest market share, and I don't know what the percentages are, but I think they spent, they like tripled or quadrupled their marketing spend during that downtime. Wow. And that's when they became the one that everybody wanted to be a part of, was Nike.
The math of
it's
that.
It's insane when you look back at it.
It's arbitrage math.
Yeah.
Because if there's half the advertisers, then it's technically going to be half as expensive.
Yep.
And therefore you get twice as many impressions for the same dollar.
Same cost.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's straight up arbitrage.
Yep.
And it's where you gain market dominance.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's, brand dominance is probably the most important thing in a law firm. And in really most businesses.
Any business,
Brand dominance is the thing. Because
all those other ones disappeared. Nike came out clearly on top by a mile.
Crazy. So here's I typed in, I always have ChatGPT, my friend here. Right? We're friends, right? ChatGPT? Anyway. Okay. So why do large personal injury law firms spend 20% of their revenues on marketing compared to the 2% that most law firms spend on marketing? Significant case value potential, the understanding the value of brand recognition and trust building, client acquisition, proper understanding of client acquisition costs, broad audience targeting. I think this is kind of all wrong. I think the reason that certain firms spend more on marketing than others is because some people have big visions and others don't.
Yeah.
I think it's less about case value and who you target. There's plenty of firms that have more specific targeting that we work with that spend way more than 2% on marketing. So it's not just the average case value. It's not just that they target a broad audience, because you can spend money marketing to a niche audience and still spend a lot of money.
Sure.
So
Just about how much you want to grow.
it's just vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
how committed are you to that vision
and
that you're willing to...
most people are just unwilling to solve the problems that occur when you grow.
Yeah.
And therefore it's easier to just bury your head under the rug and just stay small.
Growth sounds great until you start experiencing it, and then it can get scary.
I think it's exciting.
Well, I think so too, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's scary for a lot of people, right? Because you run into things you've never experienced before.
Think about the
it's
problems.
easy to just turn back.
Like, to your point on that, let's identify what the problems are of growing. Okay, now you basically, if you want to grow a law firm, you got to ask yourself, what problems do you want? Problems of commission or problems of omission, right? So if you grow a law firm, you're going to have to learn how to handle and create an intake process that converts right fit clients without the owner getting on the phone.
Yep.
Okay. You're going to have to learn how to hire great people.
Delegate.
You're going to have to learn how to delegate. You're going to have to learn how to assist your team in building systems. You're going to have to learn how to budget.
Hold your team accountable, fire when needed.
Yeah.
You're going to have to learn new leadership skills you've never learned before.
Yep. You're going to have to learn how to manage a case without you personally managing the case. Like how to have your law firm systems and your team manage a case rather than you personally manage a case.
You got to reverse engineer your goals, know how to lay that out, and set goals for your team.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. Those are problems, right? They're problems. They're challenges. Those are challenges, just like a challenge on the opposite side of doing the same shit you did every week and the little humming anxiety that comes with that of not reaching your full potential in life.
Yeah.
You know, that's a problem. That's I'd say that's a way worse problem to have to build an intake system or hire people or like delegate. You know, another one, like common problems of like, oh my God, we're going to lose this client. This client's pissed off at me. You know, that's a problem.
Sure.
You know, it's a small freaking problem. This is why one of the main KPIs that I would love to measure is rate of problems and newness of problems.
How would you do that?
Right? I don't know. But it'd be great to measure, because if
Rate
a company
of
has a
problems,
lot of
newness of
problems and a lot of new problems, the company is probably really, really successful.
Yeah, they're growing quickly probably.
If you have all the same problems and a very low rate of problems, you're probably not growing.
But the beauty is, if you're scaling, if you are actually growing, eventually, even with higher quantities, it becomes easier to solve those problems. Right? Because it's just like the multiplier, like everything else we talked about, the marketing dollars. Because now you're doing a multiplier effect with teams and process.
Yeah. Yeah, it is easier to solve problems when you have more resources.
Yeah.
But the perception is that, this is what I think.
It's always the tipping points, right? It's like
most law firms are brainwashed by what got them here.
Right.
Right? So if you got to where you're currently at with a, 1 to 10 person team, probably means you've had to do a lot of grinding, a lot of firefighting, right? And therefore, when you look at having 10 times the staff, you apply that same belief to, oh, wow, I guess I would have to be in 100 places at one time if I... No, it gets way easier.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually exponentially easier than running a 10-person team. To run a 150-person team is exponentially easier than a 10-person team.
Agreed.
And I just think that that's the biggest misconception. I don't think people understand that. And that's what prevents them from growing, because if you don't know, if in your mind growth is painful, if growth means you're going to have to sacrifice time with your family, sacrifice money, sacrifice freedom, you probably aren't going to grow if that's what you think growth is. And there's definitely periods of that, but it's no different than the problems you're going to solve if you don't grow. They're just different problems.
Either way, it's the growth side, as we're mentioning, is kind of more temporary, right? Like the other side of it, when you're not growing, I feel like those are more permanent. Like those you're just going to keep experiencing over and over again.
So, and I think it's immediate gratification. I think that everyone's basically brainwashed by this. Like, if you had to give up $20,000 a month to invest in marketing, you're going to see a dip for probably 60 to 90 days when you do that. And what most people do is, first of all, they never do that because they don't want to. They don't want to risk anything. This ties to your point around risk, right? Then when they do it, they immediately try and find reasons that they shouldn't have done it and why it was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Right. And then what does that lead to? See, I told you I should just keep doing what I was doing. I just stay small. And
reinforcing the other thoughts. Yeah.
Right. The growth-minded person says, come hell or high water, I'm going here. This is happening. Firm's going to run itself. I'm going to have an abundance of people calling me every single day. I'm going to create a case management system that works without me. And I know marketing is required for that. And I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to spend whatever it takes to get to that next level. And I know adversity is going to come, because if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? I know adversity is going to come, and I'm going to persist through that adversity. And most people don't have that wired in them.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I wonder how many law firm owners want to be the type of law firm owner that wants to grow and be entrepreneurial, but just are kind of almost lying to themselves, maybe.
Yeah.
And would be better off just partnering with another firm and being a managing partner there or something, and being taking that job there.
Yeah.
It's always great to want to do these things, and I think society makes it so great and grandiose to be business owners, but the reality is most people are probably not meant to be business owners, and so those ones are usually the ones that just stay stagnant.
Yeah, that's the problem with practitioner-based industries.
Yeah.
Dental, legal. As soon as you have that accreditation next to your name, which sometimes leads to the naming of the business with your last name in it,
right,
which is already a no-no, right? And it just creates this psychological thing that, like, a professional-based business is not a scalable business,
right?
Or it's not the right thing because I'm a professional. Yeah, you have a law degree, but if you want to use that law degree to its fullest potential, use it as a business owner. Use it as an entrepreneur. Yeah. An entrepreneur multiplies value, right? So do you want to have a very limited impact of value, just handling your little batch of clients that you have with a small team? Or do you want to take the entrepreneur multiplier and multiply everything you know about the law systematically to hundreds or thousands of clients in your market? It's really your choice. Yeah. And to your point, most people aren't going to do it. They're not cut out for it. And it feels like it's the wrong thing to do for some people. It's just I was actually just going to ask.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, I feel like some of our clients or people we talk to and we just meet feel like they have a guilt around, like, they're not being ethical, or they feel guilty about capitalizing on that success of growth. And so they feel like, I can't do this. It's not morally right. But to your point, if they view it in a different light of the whole reason you became a lawyer most likely was to help people, and if that's really what your passion is, then you're actually doing a disservice to society by not growing your business, because you're not helping more people.
This is why everyone needs to invest in a hot dog cart.
Okay.
If you were to buy a hot dog cart, okay, just a local, one of those little hot dog carts you see in the middle of the city. Buy one of those, right? If you were to buy a hot dog cart, day one, and you invested in it, you didn't just buy it to go run it yourself. You invest in a hot dog cart, you then go, wonder what the business model is here. All right, we buy our hot dogs, we buy our ketchup, we buy our, whatever toppings for it, relish, in our buns. And then we have an oven to heat up the buns. The cost of running the oven is blah. The cost of getting the buns is blah. The cost of the mustard or toppings, the bun is blah. I buy this much every week. I sell it for this. I sell each hot dog for this much. Therefore, my gross profit margin is da, and my marketing strategy is blah, and that's a cost, right? It would be very. I guarantee almost anyone with no business education could understand the business model of a hot dog cart, right? And if someone were to invest in a hot dog cart in a very simple business model that doesn't appear as though it's some professionalized thing, I would venture to guess it would be easy for them to hire someone to run that hot dog cart instead of them doing it themselves. And I would venture to guess that the person that would invest in that would be able to go, hey, it looks like sales are down this month. What can we do to jack up sales a little bit next month? What can we do? Like, can we do a little more advertising here? Can we da-da-da-da? Can we, how is our manager doing, the person running the hot dog cart? Is there any way we could help them, go better? What systems aren't working? Hey, we order a couple hot dogs and some of them took like an hour to get done, and that's not going to fly. We got to fix process. Seems like it happened peak hours. We got to fix something in peak hours.
It'd be easy to see that you should also open other locations.
Yeah, and say, oh, wow, this works in this area. Maybe
look how many people are on this corner at this time of the day. Why don't I open a spot over there?
Right.
Yeah.
And when you look at that and you compare it to like a law firm or a professional service business, that detachment almost never exists.
Yeah.
There's like a personal attachment to it that prevents you from looking at it at like a hot dog cart. And even me saying the word hot dog cart, like, we've used the word franchise prototype, right? Michael Gerber was the one who really popularized this with the book E-Myth. And even when we sometimes say you have to turn your law firm into a franchise prototype, they go, oh, no, franchise. What? That's like McDonald's? That's like what? It's this. I'm not saying turn your law firm into a freaking franchise. Franchise prototype is a term around building a duplicatable business that works with or without you, right? That's what I mean by franchise prototype. But there's this emotional reaction when you use theories and concepts like this that are like, no, it's a law firm. It's not a franchise. It's not a hot dog cart. No, dude, it is a freaking hot dog cart.
Yeah.
It's identical. There's services provided. There's costs to those services, and you have to charge more than what the services cost. And if you have good unit economics, as we talk about a lot, right? Yep. If the cost of producing an outcome for a client is less than what you charge the client, you're going to have a gross profit.
Right.
Very simple. Just like in a hot dog cart. If your cost of your buns and your hot dog is cheaper than what you charge, right? And the rent for the unit or whatever, if all that's less than what you charge, you're going to have a high gross profit. And then your gross profit is where you have wiggle room to invest in marketing. When you invest a portion of that gross profit in marketing, you're going to get more sales. When you get more sales, you're going to have to open up a second cart, i.e. you're probably going to have to hire a second person to manage the hot dogs, right? And that would be like hiring a new attorney, right? And that would be like hiring a new paralegal or more support staff. It's the same math equation. And then the quality of your legal work literally comes down to your ability to hire great hot dog cart people, i.e. attorneys.
And train them on your ways.
And tell them a little bit about your way of making hot dogs, how fast you like hot dogs to be done. It's fun. I like hot dog analogies. But it's just hard to see it when you're in a professional business.
Well, I think, and by the way, I feel like, did you give me the noisy chair on purpose? Mine is like so noisy, and yours is not. I don't know
I
what's
want
up with that.
everyone
like,
to just think
this is like a power move or something. I think
comes on, it's just worse.
It's really noisy and squeaky. Anyway, you know, I think to be fair, lawyers have obviously gone through law school. Their whole identity is wrapped up in being an attorney, right, and helping people in that sense. We look at it probably from a different lens because even though I used to want to be an attorney when I was young, you know, we got our calling and passion in being entrepreneurial and running businesses. And so that's where we find our identity, right? So there's kind of like an identity crisis almost where it's like they have to do that shift to get okay with the things that we're okay with. Because those things seem second nature to us and seem like common sense, I think, because we have our identity in being entrepreneurial and business owners. Mm-hmm. So they've got to make that transition.
Yeah, my question is, where does that happen, though? Like, I feel like you cultivate... There are certainly some people with entrepreneurial instinct from a young age. I didn't have it from a young age. I like when everyone says...
You never had a business when you were, like, younger?
All of them were terrible and didn't work. Yeah.
What were some of them?
Oh, dude. Landscaping.
Okay.
I ran the business for 2 weeks. Like, I put flyers illegally. It was not legal. In like everyone's mailboxes and like had people yell at me for it. We had a couple people hire me and then I just stopped. I did, I was in the Boy Scouts. I raised some money for the Boy Scouts once and then stopped. I didn't have entrepreneurial instinct when I was young. Or I just didn't find a way to use it. Maybe it was hidden in there. But,
could be. Yeah.
I was just a jokester. That's it. All I was doing was trying to make people laugh constantly. And
you should have done a comedy show in charge. The funniest one I did was we did a magic show in my neighborhood.
Yeah. What kind of business did you do? Businesses when you were young?
I was always doing some little hustle, but yeah, I mean, when I go really, really young, we had the typical lemonade stand. I think I did one short period of the mowing lawns, and I was like, I don't want to do that hard work. I want to find a different way to do it.
I did mowing lawns, yeah.
One summer we went to my dad's house in Virginia, and I was standing there, and the boys across the street, my buddies, we ended up doing a magic show like every so often. We charged like neighbors to attend it. We would market it, and we went out and had the people come, and we did the magic show. Jeez. And then when I was older, I gave drum lessons to people, and I did. When I got into college, I was also consulting like high school kids on like college and how to get in and what to do to set yourself up. So
that's hilarious.
I was always looking for a way to make money.
So I didn't have a way to, either I didn't have the instinct at the young age, or I didn't find a way to use it. But my instinct for that came from really me graduating school. Like the instinct I always had.
College?
College. The instinct I always had was to win.
Okay.
Because I grew up racing dirt bikes.
Right.
And that was hardwired into me to win. So I was really an athlete growing up. That was my primary focus, which a lot of people are, doing sports, weightlifting like you. Still haven't seen photos. But some sport, or art of some sort typically is a primary focus. For me, there was no side hustle. It was literally just like dirt biking. And then when I went to school, I wanted to win there. And that's when I literally went 3 years 4.0. Never got anything less than a 4.0 on anything for 3 full years in school. Actually, it was probably 4 years. It was the last semester where
you just gave up.
The cultural societal the cultural societal hypnotic mechanism, as my buddy Myron says, I started seeing through it.
Yeah.
And thinking, wait a second, what the hell is this thing that I've perfected, school? What the hell is this? What is this going to do for me? And that's when I started seeing through the matrix, and I was just like, I think I'm mastering the wrong thing. And then that was at the point My family had already gone bankrupt. And then I was like, what's the next thing I'm going to win at? Because I kind of did give up on school. I still got like a 3.8 and ended up like magna cum laude or whatever. But I psychologically had given up on school as the thing I needed to win at. Thank God. And then that's where it became sales. Sales was the thing I had to win at.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, I was always a jokester growing up, which really what that meant was I was adaptable and I was able to be a chameleon in social situations.
And you got to be charismatic in comedy and sales.
Yeah. And that's where I saw an aggressive side of me that I had in motocross, but I was able to
risk-taking.
And risk-taking. I was able to verbally communicate that in sales for the first time. And then from there, that's where my instincts were unlocked.
Yeah.
Once I was able to sell, it was, oh, wait a second. And then that's where all the instincts come in of, it's really kind of like, you know, how certain cells want to multiply. It kind of was like I had just had this multiplication instinct where it's like, okay, if I can make 100 cold calls a day and I can hire 4, you know, virtual assistants to do the same thing, then I can make 400 cold calls a day. And while they're making 400 cold calls a day, I can be closing. And then I was like, okay. And then the next step, which was an instinct of mine, grateful for, was I would actually take action on it.
Right.
And I would actually spend money on it. Right. And now those are not trainable. Like the massive action instinct and the I will spend money on this instinct, I think those came naturally to me.
Yeah, the instincts of them, for sure, are more of a natural trait.
Yeah. Because I just when I first joined my sales job, I bought a $5,000 sales course the week I joined, and I had no money.
Yeah.
I did put it on a Discover credit card.
Yeah, I think that's an inherent characteristic or quality, and I think those things can be learned. You have to kind of force yourself to do those things. You have to overcome your own natural instincts that are the opposite of what yours are.
Yeah.
But you can break through them.
Yeah, I just think the entrepreneurial instinct is a very curious question, because I would hate to end this podcast with the consensus that you can't cultivate the instincts of entrepreneurship unless that's true. If that's true, then I'm happy for us to conclude that. I just think potentially the lawyers that we potentially would call overly detail oriented, they may just have never, similar to me, they may just have never been in a situation where they had to exercise instincts like that.
Yeah.
And maybe the law work and the it's kind of like the Colonel Sanders thing, right? How old was he when he actually?
Oh yeah, it was like much later in life when he started or something.
How old? I mean, he was probably
50s, I think.
Yeah, like he was. Colonel Sanders' age, he was 65 years old when he began franchising Kentucky Fried Chicken in 1955. 65 years old when he began franchising it, right? So something happened in his life. Like, do not tell me Colonel Sanders didn't have entrepreneurial instinct.
Yeah.
Just because it took him 65 years to unlock it doesn't mean he didn't have it, right? Same thing with the McDonald's story.
Yeah.
Who's the guy that came? Ray Kroc, right?
Yeah.
He was super old too. I mean, he wasn't as old as
Not
Colonel
as old
Sanders.
As that, but still,
50. He's probably around 50.
Probably like late 40s, 50s, yeah.
Right? And he was selling freaking, milkshake machines.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Selling milkshake machines for 50 years, and then is the freaking visionary behind the greatest restaurant scaling story in history. So, like, I've never put two and two together on this, but, like, I always wondered why I didn't have businesses when I was young, because a lot of entrepreneurs did.
Yeah.
But now it gives me comfort knowing that maybe I just didn't find a way to exercise my instincts, and that's probably promising for everyone listening right now.
For sure.
Is if you're not where you want to be right now, you may actually be an entrepreneur in hiding.
And maybe yours were unlocked kind of more naturally, right? Through like your just progression, like you said, through school, something just clicked and it kind of undid it.
Yeah.
For others, they may have to be more intentional in
Yeah.
unlocking it, right? They have to take steps. I mean, you know, like I said, I always talk about I'll never be a patient person, but I think a lot of people think I'm patient at our company. But it's really because I've just worked really hard at processes by which I come across more patient or exercise more patience. But like you said, you know, earlier with, you know, you can sometimes see when in the back of my head I'm spinning with impatience, and I'm really exercising control. But you know, that's something I have to push through to. So I think that those entrepreneurial things, you know, by learning, self-awareness is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
You have to be self-aware.
I think it's also bias for action. You ever hear that before? Like where you're like, if you want to be biased one way, you want to be biased towards taking action.
Sure.
Right? And bias for action, I think, is a trait that can be unlocked later in life or at a certain phase in your life. Like for me, when I was in school, the only thing I was taking massive action on was studying.
Mm-hmm.
That was my massive action, and my band. I was doing a band during that time. Those are the only two things I was taking massive action on: studying and band. And yet both of those things didn't really contribute to my long-term success. Like, they were great, but they weren't what I should be doing. And what's interesting is, like, bias for action to me is where you start learning, especially within entrepreneurship, where you start learning, I can do something in this business. I can put an input in, and now after periods of time of putting an input in and then getting an output, I start gaining confidence that when I do X, I get Y. And
right.
That creates momentum. But
that's a good point.
If you don't have that outcome association from inputs, then you're going to believe, oh, when I put $20,000 into marketing, I don't know if I'm going to get Y.
Right.
Or if I put $30,000, I don't know if I'm going to lose money. I don't know if I'm going to sign up clients. And over time, when you start unlocking your instincts, those things that once scared you just become input-output equations. Like if I hire an attorney, input, you start believing it's going to work 85% of the time. And
well, especially
okay
once it happens, like you said. It's kind of like Pavlov. So like once you start seeing that result of whatever you put in, that outcome, then that gives you more confidence or knowledge that, oh, when I do this, this happens. So I'm going to keep doing this action over and over and over again. And I think for those who can't either naturally break through or figure it out, there's just things you can put in place to do that. So, I mean, if you find yourself being somebody who's biased against action, what could you do? You know, maybe it's like, hey, first of all, again, it begins with self-awareness. You have to understand that I have a bias against action. So I'm not somebody who says, oh, here's an opportunity. Great, let's do it. No, I start thinking about why shouldn't I do it? What could go wrong? What are all the consequences? And then you could just start retraining yourself to like top of mind. I used to always put like a yellow sticky note under my computer monitor of something I'm working on so that it's just a constant reminder. So if I catch myself thinking that way or doing something, it triggers me to think against it. Because then if you start saying, if something comes your way, an opportunity, eventually you'll start, going to your natural, like why we can't do this, why we shouldn't do this. And then you stop yourself and you say, wait, why should we do this? What could be a positive outcome of this? Why should I take this chance? And you just start trying to retrain how you think a little bit. Eventually that becomes habit, that every time an opportunity comes, right when you go into that instinctual mode, you'll kick into the next phase, which combats it, and to the point where that becomes your natural instinct. And that's not easy, but you can do that. I mean, I've done it with a lot of bad habits I've had in business. And
you've had a lot of bad habits, so I mean, definitely.
That's why I always have a sticky note. Yeah. There's always one more thing.
I think that input-output equation is really fascinating. When you start believing, when I spend money on marketing, it's going to come back to me.
Yeah.
which if you were to put Andy and I's brains in a brain scan and squeeze it of what our factual truths are that we believe in our brain, you're going to find a belief in there that says when we spend more money on marketing, we make more money.
Absolutely.
Right? You're not going to find a belief in there that says we save money on marketing because I don't believe in it. You're just not going to find that belief in there at all. You're going to find a belief that people don't cost you money, they make you money. Like staff doesn't, like hiring employees does not cost you money, it makes you money. You're going to find that belief in there searingly clear. You're going to find beliefs around risk taking. Like the biggest risk is taking no risk at all. Like you'll see all remnants of these motivational cliches, but you'll see I would suspect, I've never actually scanned my own brain, but I would suspect that you would literally, if there was a way to see it, you would see neural pathways formed around these beliefs. And when you don't have those beliefs formed, that's when you got to play the whole 50 cent card and just say, hey, before anyone believed in me, I had to believe in me, right? Yep. I had to talk great to myself before other people talk great about me. That's why I know I'm going to be the best rapper alive, bro. You know? And that's why people can mistake confidence for arrogance. You know? But if you're going through a period of having to rewire yourself, then who the hell else is going to talk to yourself? Who the hell else is going to talk to yourself from a position of I believe this is going to go well? And it's not, I'm not saying be overly like what would you call it? Like not non-calculated. Don't be
careless?
Yeah, don't be careless. That's probably the best word. Like I'm not saying be careless and be so overconfident that you're just like you'll spend money on anything.
Right. Yeah.
And you'll just believe everything will work no matter what, even if you're spending money on.
It's got to be intentional.
Putting your law firm's logo on toilet paper.
Yeah.
It's got to work. When I spend money on marketing, I know it's going to pay me back.
If you're a PI trainee, maybe you do that and you give it to hospitals for free.
That's freaking
you
great.
Make good market.
Yeah. Hey, wait, before you wipe, look here. That'd be good, man.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's hemorrhoid lawsuits.
Yeah.
You know, that could be great advertising for. But you can't be careless. But you also have to know that if you're at least being somewhat calculated in your decision making. That's why I always love reverse engineering from the truths of where people spend their time, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's not many options for lawyers to market. As everyone's like, oh, the world, it's like filled with so many options now. Do I do TikTok? Do I do this? You ever hear the saying, like, when you're a master of something, you can explain it simply.
Yeah.
Like you can if something is complicated to you, it's a sign you're not a master of it. So like the fact that Andy and myself and we've mastered marketing in a lot of ways is like it's so simple to understand marketing. There's for a lawyer there's Google, there's basically search marketing, and then there's awareness marketing. There's demand marketing and awareness marketing.
Right.
Mostly all demand marketing happens on the internet. Someone makes a search, and then that search can come in through a Google ad, through a Google Maps listing, through legal directory. And then where you show up is ultimately the determinant of whether you get a lead through demand marketing. When people are in demand of you, does your law firm show up? That's simple.
Yep.
So there's one option, Google, and whatever comes from Google, the lead sources that are available on Google. Okay, that's the number one highest traffic website in the world. So until you figured that out, you probably don't want to distract yourself with TikTok or, crazy nuanced strategies, right? Okay, what else do you have? You have social media. That's a form of awareness marketing. Typically people don't go to social media to search for a lawyer.
Right.
But that's changing very, very quickly. TikTok has become a search engine.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
Like significantly. The amount of searches happening on, by the way, My wife Emily basically finds everything through TikTok search now. Like,
I don't have TikTok, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, she'll go on TikTok. She'll say, "Baby butt cream," because our baby needs butt cream a lot. And she'll just look up 3 people's reviews of the best baby butt cream.
Wow.
And then she makes purchase decisions from TikTok search.
Interesting.
Like, obviously ChatGPT.
Yeah.
All the other equivalents to that. There's AI search, and then there's non-AI search. I mean, AI is involved in all search, but
there's like iAsk.ai, which is a new one, which is big.
Yep. And the social media side is primarily interrupting people, other than the search features that now exist on the social media platforms. And so that's just a different marketing strategy. Where do people spend time? Okay, 3 hours a day people spend on social media? It's insane on average. Mm-hmm. So when people say, "Oh, my clients aren't on there," I don't care if you market to investment bankers. Okay, I don't care how high level they are. If Elon Musk is spending time on social media, X, constantly, and was running 3 of the most biggest market cap companies around, what delusional belief has caused you to say your clients aren't on social media? Every human being's addicted to social media.
Yeah.
Right? So that's category number 2. You have demand marketing and you have awareness marketing on social media. Then you have offline. Billboards, TV, radio, and there's a barrier to entry for that. And that's billboards, TV, radio is great for people who have the budget for it. Most people don't have the budget for it. Right. Therefore, you have to go to social media as your methodology of awareness marketing. Now, because people don't have a proper understanding of awareness marketing, i.e. the high percentage of unqualified leads you get, I always say, who do you think gets the most unqualified leads by percent in the legal industry?
Are you asking me? Well, all the people that are biggest on social media.
All the people who are the biggest in general.
Yeah, I guess
John
so, yeah.
Morgan.
Yeah.
But you'd say, he gets the most leads ever. I would say there's a teetering scale where the people with the lowest number of leads per month are typically the ones with the highest quality leads per lead. The people with the most leads per month are typically the people with the lowest quality of leads. So John Morgan, the biggest advertiser around, he probably gets the most percentage of unqualified leads than any other law firm in the United States.
Yeah, I would think that's true.
Because the more known you become,
everybody's calling them,
the more random freaking calls you're going to get. If you don't know that and you go into social media, which is an awareness platform, it's basically a digital billboard, right? It's a video digital billboard that you can target to, even with the targeting capabilities. If you don't understand awareness marketing, you're going to just say, "Oh, crap didn't work. I got a ton of unqualified calls." Whereas someone else who understands awareness marketing is going to go, "Oh, that's how it's supposed to be. That's why it's 5 times cheaper to get a lead on Facebook than it is on Google, because we have to sift through more leads to get right fit clients from Facebook, right?"
You got to take that savings and put it in your intake system.
And put that in your intake system so you can follow up with leads. Expect a lower close rate on those leads, right? And people don't know that. And when you are risk averse, I actually think you've hit on something with the risk aversion thing. When you are risk averse, you want guarantees. Therefore, there's all these predatory performance-based lead gen companies that do some pretty shady crap and like resell leads, like 5 law firms, like the same lead, and very shady arrangements I've learned from some of these performance-based pay-per-lead type companies. And actually there's ethical problems with how some of these companies sign cases, even though they'll never say that. They're signing cases and they're calling them highly qualified leads, which is a complete gray area.
And there are legal changes coming to that.
With the
market.
one-party thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
One-party consent, meaning they can't distribute leads to multiple people at once. They can only distribute it to one law firm.
That lead has to know who's contacting them. It has to be a single
one name
firm.
Which makes lead aggregation a lot harder. But that's why people, I think, gravitate towards performance-based.
Yeah,
Because they're like,
makes
oh,
sense.
I'm going to pay a guaranteed cost per lead. Yeah, you don't understand all the strings attached to that and all the crap that's happening behind the scenes and other firms getting the same lead and all that. But all you see is guaranteed cost per lead, guaranteed money back, guaranteed. Yeah. This is all poor people thinking. When you are in abundance, you do not want guarantees. You understand guarantees are what all of your competitors are going to gravitate towards. I want things that are not guaranteed because that's a competitive advantage.
Well, if you look at investments, right? I could go buy a CD or invest in a very low risk, index fund.
Great point.
And I could say, I'm guaranteed 4%, 2%, 1.5%, whatever it is, really low. Or I can invest in a more high risk, or I can invest in individual stocks or some other things that are maybe a little bit higher risk. But if I want to reap the big rewards, that's where I got to go.
That's why, like, if you look at a dude, you just nailed it. Okay, there's a spectrum: high risk, high reward; low risk, low reward. Right? That same principle applies in marketing.
Yep.
Right? Google is your lower risk platform. It's more expensive. It's just lower risk because you're going to get a higher percentage of qualified leads. The chance of the leads that come in through Google are way more likely to be qualified than those from social. Social is middle of the line, right? So it's a little bit higher risk. It's also dramatically higher reward.
Right.
Harder to figure out. There's way more variables of things that can go wrong. On Google, you're bidding on keywords. You're showing an ad when a keyword gets typed in. It's getting brought to a landing page. That's not a lot of variables because the creative is relatively fixed, okay? You'll never see a search.
Right.
You'll never see an ad on Google from a lawyer with well, not at least now. It could happen in the future. With a selfie video of the lawyer going, hey, thanks for searching on Google for a personal injury lawyer. You may see that on their landing page or on their website, but you're not going to see that on the ad. On social media, there's 1,001 different ways that a lawyer can present themselves on a social media ad. So they could say one word at the beginning of their social media ad that ruins the performance of the ad. Yeah. Very hard to do that on Google when it's a fixed text ad that looks like static, just like all the other listings on Google. Very hard to screw that up, right? So there's more room for error. And you're interrupting someone, so therefore the qualified lead percent's a lot lower, and therefore you have to follow up with people more, right?
Well, and because of what you just mentioned a second ago, you have to test a lot more things to get it right.
Which, by the way, this is why I am so freaking pumped about the AI avatars that we're doing for our clients.
Yeah, makes the testing a lot easier and faster.
Insane how freaking Andy's little pet projects on AI create this amazing disruptive
it's a game changer
technology for our clients. It's insane. It's the coolest thing I think that we're doing right now.
I agree.
Agency wise, that an attorney can literally film a 2-minute video of them talking. That then gets encoded into an AI avatar, which is an exact replica of the attorney. And then we can plug and play 15 different, unlimited numbers of scripts with that attorney's profile. And then we can launch 15 different social media ads, and we can change the first 2 words of this one, the 3 words in this one, and we can split test all 15 at once. We can come back and know which one is the highest performer, and the attorney doesn't have to film 17 different videos. They can just film 1 2-minute video talking about whatever the hell they want to talk about. I mean, some of these videos are crazy. The AI avatar ones, I won't name anything, but we tell our clients, hey, you can talk about literally anything on this 2-minute video that we're going to feed into the AI avatar. And we probably need to set some parameters on that.
We shouldn't say that anymore?
Yeah. So, we definitely don't want you to talk about anything. Not anything. So,
I think that's where a lot of people give up on that side of the marketing because it takes more effort. But just like anything else, it's also what you put in is what you get out of it.
Yeah.
So the social is going to take more time for testing. Now, again, the AI makes it so much simpler.
Yeah.
So that's the cheat code. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, that's why people don't do it, is because they have to do so much testing and variations.
Yeah.
And then sort through
burn
all
out.
the crap at the end that comes through, and you know.
So just spend more money on marketing, man. It's just so sad.
I will say, you know, like I've got, you know, a visionary side to me, but I definitely have more detail than you and Andy. So when I came here, I kind of had my concept of what businesses spend on marketing and, you know, just past budgets, et cetera. And yeah, you guys are definitely pushing the limits and setting the percentages much higher than what I was accustomed to. But again, once you start to see it, now I think you'd probably agree, like, I don't really flinch at the marketing budgets. We, you know, we definitely honed in and have more intentional spend, like you said before, where we're not being as careless, I think, as some of the risks we did before, but sometimes you have to test some things. I won't say what they were, but certain speakers
that we paid over six figures
I'm
for
glad
that.
those days are behind us.
Now we don't do any paid speakers anymore,
which is great.
Louise,
I was able to prove that we had no incremental gain from those spends. There's no return. Yeah. But our budgets are higher as a percentage for sales and marketing, and we don't flinch.
That was another big kind of ego thing, realization, where, you know, sometimes the things that fuel your ego in your marketing aren't the highest ROI things.
Right.
Yeah. And that is a huge insight, because when you have a bias for action and you take a ton of action, the chance of you taking the wrong action is more likely. Now, if you're also self-aware and you're a learning machine,
right,
then you're going to learn from those mistakes, and you're going to continually sharpen your decision making. But that doesn't change the fact that stupid mistakes are going to be made. And I would rather a law firm owner any day of the week make a mistake by spending too much money on marketing than making the mistake of living a mediocre existence for their entire life and never actually being able to step away from their firm and have an asset that works with or without them. It's also the fastest way to learn is when you put money behind something, right? Yeah. If you ball on a budget and you do everything by word of mouth and you wait for things to work before you scale them up and like play that game, like think about this, okay? If somebody spends $1,000 a month on Google Ads, and I spend $30,000 in 1 month on Google Ads, then what they learn in 30 months is what I will learn in 1 month.
Right. It's a great way to look at it, yeah.
So it's not just to spend money to do it just for growth's sake. It's also for learning. I want to know very fast what works and what doesn't work, and I'm not willing to wait 30 months to learn that.
And that's the thing, too, is the speed of growth.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe the other firm will grow over the course of 12 years, but you could maybe achieve that same growth rate in 2 years, year and a half.
Well, I think we're done here. You guys, just thank you for listening to these first couple Law Firm Growth Acceleration podcast episodes. We can't do it without your beautiful ears, which we're in them right now. Crawling into your brain, rewiring the synapses around spending money on yourself, on your future, on your legacy. Psst, did you increase your budget yet? Hey, you. All right, I'm going to shut up now. This is where it gets to the Bill needs to hang up.
Side.
Yeah, hang up on himself. I think I'm going to hang up on myself now. Keep it snazzy, keep flexing in the mirror 24/7, 365. Talk soon.